hi everyone. So yeah, like Anil talked about it, I wanted to give this talk after reading this book from Dale Carnegie. How many people here have heard about Dale Carnegie? Everyone. Okay, that's great. So have you have completed reading the book? Have you actually put it in practice?
Yeah, but
You have? Okay, not yet.
I
So I
haven't
think-
read his book, but I've heard of him.
Okay.
yeah, I'm
So-
aware of the book. Yeah.
So then this would be useful information to help you in your professional career as well as personal life. So two aspects I'll focus on is how to influence others and how to lead. So in terms of influencing others, one of the key things that we tend to do, at least as a manager, I myself make this mistake all the time, is that someone presents me with an idea and immediately I go into criticism mode. Why that can't be done, or what's wrong with it. So this tends to put people in a defensive posture. So when you say, like Anil, this hackathon idea just doesn't make sense at all, like it cannot work. Immediately Anil goes into what, he goes into a defensive mode and says, oh, this is why it should work, this is why it can work. And even if it doesn't make sense, he goes into that mode. So you may be right, but you're putting the conversation kind of devolves into a point of, I need you to listen to me, and you need to listen to me. It's not talking about logical statements anymore. So don't criticize, don't condemn, don't complain. This is critical when you have a professional discussion and come up with ideas. Rather than that, build on other people's ideas. Any comments on this? Have you guys experienced this?
Yeah, I think to me it's kind of common sense, but I know for a lot of people, they turn everything into a battle often.
Yeah, I think that what's really important is the complaining one, because I think it's too easy to like go to work and hear everyone complaining, like, why are we developing in C#, or why can't we do PHP? And I think if you get in a habit of never complaining, like does miracles for your thinking, like positive thinking, and say,
Yeah.
this is good, we'll make this work, yeah. And just, it's easy to get consumed in it, because I work 9 to 5, but that one is really important for everyone to learn, like in general, and like for no matter where you exist.
Yeah, really
So-
good point. No, just that positive mentality of not complaining.
Yeah, it falls into the positive mentality sort of category.
And I think a lot of times, like, it's kind of happening subconsciously. So people, like, both parties aren't even aware that it's happening, you know? Like, it obviously, like, this is kind of like, it makes sense, like, that, you know, if you do this, it's gonna have some, but who even thinks about that? We're just interested in, like, moving forward the idea or whatever. Like, that's a whole psychological element that, you know, unless you're studying psychology, you're probably not gonna be aware of, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Another really simple things that but have significant impact. Appreciate and recognize, especially if you're in a leadership role. You always want to make sure people appreciate it, even as friends. You know, like this today, I told Anil, I appreciate you listening to me talk, and I recognize your ideas that you're giving back to me. And just that one statement alone made him feel so different. I asked him, how do you feel after I said that? And it was like night and day. And you'll be surprised at how effective this is at making people buy into your cause. Like if you have an idea or if you have a vision and you want other people to buy into that vision, appreciate that. Appreciate the fact that they're listening to you, and if they build on your idea, recognize them for it. And you'll find it so much easier to convince people to get on your side. Any comments on this?
Yeah, we appreciate that.
This one is especially really hard for me. I found it hard, and it's a cultural challenge as well for me, but I think it's really valuable. Sometimes what I'm trying to train myself to do is take a step back. Instead of immediately responding to someone when they say a statement, I want to take a step back and understand why they're saying it before I respond back. See the other person's point of view. Because they may be saying something that makes no sense to you, but if you start put yourself in their shoes, you'll see why they're saying it and the intent of why they're saying those things. So they may be saying, oh, I hate you, oh, I don't like you. But really what they are saying is, I need attention from you. like especially for kids. You know, like they may do these things, but the real thing that they're trying to say or why they're saying it is something much deeper. So if you just take a little bit of time, instead of responding immediately, take some time to think over it and see from their perspective, you might see a whole different picture. Is it, what about you guys, what are your experiences?
I think in UX, like, you know, I would, you know, they kind of teach you a lot about that, like human-computer interaction. Like, you know, as a designer or a developer, like, you got to put yourself in the user's shoes and be like, okay, so what kind of, you know, what kind of like understanding do they already have, and how are they going to be, you know, interfacing with this software or hardware or whatever, and how can you make that by design a better experience, you know? And so you're often, as a developer or somebody on the back end, told to put yourself in the front end to be able to design and develop better solutions for those people. So, you know, that's kind of different, but the same, like, you know, in the sense that you're trying to get as much perspective as you can on the subject, because obviously you're going to come up with a much more refined outcome or solution, like, you know, by taking that into consideration. So.
I agree. Yeah, you can apply this in technology, directly in technology as well. Giving honest and sincere appreciation. So I can say you did a great job, or you did, you know, flattery. This is different than flattery. You know, especially like Candace, you get flattery, right, all the time. That doesn't work. Like with all these guys hitting on girls, that doesn't work. But instead, if you tell people, hey, I really loved what you talked about, and I think that really changed in my life, the way I responded to that. It's something sincere and something unique and it's specific to you, that tends to work a lot more when you are trying to build a connection with someone else. So it's different than flattery. It's something, and it's kind of a fine line. You have to be able to know how to give sincere and honest appreciation. Removing the I. So a lot of times when I go to conferences or when I have interviews or when I was a manager, I used to interview people. I can always tell a person's ego from just the way they talk. Because when they start talking about I am this, I do this, I've done this, even though behind the scenes they've done it as part of a team, it tells me a lot about them. So removing the I is kind of difficult, because especially in today's world, everything is about you. It's you know, Facebook, Twitter. You're trying to show the world who are you are, and it's kind of strokes your ego a lot. Everything around us is how do we present ourselves in the best light. But in reality, what really impacts others is about how can you include other people. How can we, if you say we built this product, we together had the ideas, it's actually much more impactful than if you said I came up with this product. Yes, you may be very smart, but if you say we, oh wow, this guy has partnerships built already, that brings a lot of credibility to your statement. So even though it may seem tempting to say I did this, I did that, I am this great person, I am all this, it actually brings a lot more value when you bring other people along with you. What are your comments or thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Feel free to share. This is just not one-way talk.
What's this? A man once told Buddha, I want happiness. The Buddha replied, first remove idols, ego, then remove one, that's a desire, and now left with is happiness.
That's right. So actually Buddhism, if you look at Buddhism, it's all about removing the ego out of the picture. And in a way, that's how it differs from all the other religions. It's very much about removing ego. It's very hard to do. Don't sell. So I see this a lot of times. I go to Salesforce. I was with Anil in Salesforce conference in San Francisco, and everyone is just selling you stuff. There's hundreds and hundreds of products, and all they care about is here's what my products do, here are my features, this is what it does. Click this button, it gives you it saves all world hunger. And I really don't care. End of the day, if you really think about people and your relationships, people really don't care about what you say or what you have to offer. What they care about is themselves, and that's the fundamental truth that everyone is interested in their own well-being in some deep level. What you really need to do is figure out what is really important to that person and try to connect with that person at an authentic level. Try to figure out what is it that you have that you could help solve their problem. And that's the trick to selling. Dale Carnegie, he noticed this in a lot of salesmen would come and say, hey, this is a vacuum cleaner, this does all the most amazing things. But the truth is that he lives in an apartment that doesn't need to be vacuumed. Or he has a maid that comes in and vacuums it already, so he doesn't need to buy the vacuum. And you're spending all this time and effort trying to sell to someone that really doesn't need it. So instead, if the salesman had done some studying of understanding, okay, he doesn't really need a vacuum, but he could use a lawnmower, he could use something else, then he could have sold him that. And I think this is the trick to selling. And selling is everywhere in our day-to-day life. It's selling ideas, it's selling concepts, it's selling ourselves. And if you just understand this concept, it's immensely beneficial.
It's like building relationships, establishing rapport, and then people buy from other people they like.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it much easier to sell, right? When someone is actually, in fact, they could be ending up selling your product for you when they are on board with you. So people like to own stuff. I mean, this goes back to playing with, the line about everyone is interested in themselves. That's their first priority. Everything else comes second. So if you can use that to your advantage in the sense that when you present an idea, you want people to work on your idea. In hackathons, you get this all the time. In the first 1 hour, you need to build a team. And Anil knows this better than anyone. It's really hard to do because nobody wants to work on your project. Everyone wants to work on everyone else to work on their project. So how do you get people to work on your ideas or build off what you want them to do? So the key is to, in a way, this kind of reverse psychology. You make it feel, even though the idea could be yours, don't present them the idea and this is what you need to do, but rather present them, here's what the problem is, and then let them come up with a solution, even if you knew the solution up front. And I've used this tactic many times in my management career, that it works wonders. Even though you know what needs to be done, you don't tell them what needs to be done. You tell them, here's a problem, can you please come up with ideas? Let's work together. We have a challenge here. Let's all come up with ideas. And they come up with ideas, and eventually they'll come up with the idea that you had in mind. And then you say, okay, that's a great idea. I think we should do this. What does everyone else think? What are the pros and cons? And convince them that is the right path to go. And you'll see that they'll have vested interest in making that happen. They'll actually take that idea into fruition because they feel like they came up with it. Even though you had it before, now they feel like they own it. Does that make sense? Like, has anyone used this before?
I mean, I find that like a lot of people, if they're passionate about the same thing, about solving the same problem, like, it's, easier for them to come on board, I see a lot of people doing that too. Like they'll go around at the event and they'll like scope out everybody's idea and they'll be like, some people are like, oh, which is the one that's gonna win? The other ones are like, which are the ones that's like most related to what I feel like, A, learning about, or B, passionate about solving. And then, then there's the others which are just like, I just want to join a team.
Yeah. But even those who want to join a team, you want to make sure that they are motivated to do what is needed to win the hackathon. The trick is that instead of telling them, here's the solution, here's what you need to do, make them come up with a solution. Have them come up with it. That way they buy into the idea, because now they're actually working on their own idea.
Yeah.
Instead of they're working on your idea, now they feel like they're working on their idea. And it's worked. Remember the team builder, me and Anil actually had this where we built an app that helped build teams for hackathons. because the first hour is very chaotic. If anyone, how many people here have been to hackathons? None.
There've been a startup weekend.
Startup
It's
weekend.
Kind of
Yeah.
similar concept.
Okay, so I recommend it. It's a great experience. But yeah, it's an experience where we had to sell ideas for people to come and join our team, and instead of here's a solution, here's what we want you to do, we said here's a problem. We all have this problem. Let's as a team come up with a solution, and we led them towards the solution that we had in mind, and we ended up winning one of the prizes there. I think when you're talking to women, you definitely want to be good about this. Be a good listener, right, Andrew? No?
Well, some girls are kind of quiet, so they kind of want to do the joke thing, but I'm not gonna say that.
I don't know, that means, is that a first
Huh?
date? After the fourth date, do they
Some of them are
know?
kind of quiet, so you want them to stir up the mood, but that's a different conversation. We're gonna.
Yeah, maybe on the first date. After the fourth, you'll see that you
Once you're
really
dating, yeah,
need to-
that's probably a good one.
Exactly, you need to be a good listener. And it's very important you listen carefully, because they may say something and later on you need to know that they said that. And huh?
Generally, you hear it when something goes wrong, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
When you do something wrong.
And but this actually is true in general, even in an interview, even when you're talking to others, especially when you're in a startup, you're trying to figure out whether your product is going to sell. You're trying to validate it. You don't want to be talking all the time about your product. You want to hear about the other person's problems and see whether the problem that they have is it solved by your product. That's much more important than them knowing that you have a product. Does that make sense? Because that's a critical point. Is one is them knowing about your product, but two is you knowing about their problems. I would argue that you knowing about their problems is a lot more valuable than them knowing about your product.
Yeah, especially
Especially
if
in
you're
startups.
especially if you're designing the product as a solution for their problem.
Yeah, but how do you know what is their problem until you actually find out?
Yeah.
That's why it's called ideation phase, and there's a whole process of how to come up with ideas. But when you're in an ideation phase, you ask them simple questions like, what is the three most frustrating things in your day-to-day life? And just let them talk. Don't, even if they say stories, let them talk. And from there you can extract really good ideas.
Also, to ask a lot of open-ended questions, like with sales,
Correct.
and you could just maybe talk forever.
Yeah, and people like to talk about themselves. Again, it's that play on their ego. Let people, people like to be heard out. People like to be recognized. So, use that to your advantage.
Yeah, it's really important. I think when you learn how to manipulate, it kind of sucks, but it's really important if you learn how to manipulate people like that, where you know that it's common. It's human tendency to be egomaniacs, and so if you learn how to not let that control you, then you can really like powerful. Like when I'm at work, I can, manager could come up and try to play these games, because a lot of these are kind of games managers play. Like a lot of them will come in and try to make you work harder by showing appreciation, but if you're really smart, you don't want to work harder at your job, you want to work harder on your business. So you gotta always be careful that a lot of these are games. At least in my scenario, I tend to like do the opposite. Instead of being we, I do I a lot as a personal, but as a business, I'll do we, because it's not me.
I see.
But you so long as you did learn how to differentiate between a business and your own personal life.
I like that strategy. That's pretty cool.
As a manager, I mean, I use
That's
these
very
tactics,
good.
but I don't look at it as manipulation, but I rather look at it as I find it better that I understand the employee better. And yes, I'm trying to encourage them, but what are ways of encouragement, right? So I can give them money, which rarely works well, or I can give them vested interest in the project and them achieving their career goals, or them being able to present their results and being them. I would pick the latter. So I don't look at it as playing a game, but
Oh no, I'm not saying playing a game, but just to.
I'm not manipulating them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, my words are a bit rough, but yeah, no, you get what I'm saying. Just so long as you're aware of a lot of these ideas.
Yeah,
And whatever suits everyone individually best is best.
yeah.
So,
So yeah, if you're on the flip side and you're the person being talking, like in this case, the question you have to ask yourself is, why are you there talking to this person? If the answer is that that person can help you, and he's someone you trust and you have built this rapport with, then yeah, be a willing participant, and you could come up with good ideas that you could be part of. So now let me switch to the second question, which is how to lead. I don't have time to get the graphics in, but I just put in the points, key points. When it comes to leadership, it goes back recognition and appreciation, praise and honest appreciation. Start with that. And when you're trying to find out when someone has done a bad job, you don't go directly and say, okay, I've done a bad job. I made this mistake many times myself, and I paid many penalties because of that. Instead of that, what you need to do is things like, we have a challenge here. This product has these challenges. Can someone come up with ideas on how to solve it? What could we have done better? What, as a team, could we have done better? What's the root cause? So getting back to inclusive. Let's be inclusive of them as part of the problem finding, problem solution. So it's not to point fingers, but rather to figure out what the solution is at this stage. Now, if the solution is retraining them, then that's something that they should come to that conclusion naturally. That they should say, I could have done better if I knew about X, Y, and Z. Let me go train X, Y, and Z. Instead of telling them, you know what, you did a bad job, you can't do this again. If this ever happens again, I'm going to make sure that you pay for it. I want you to go train X, Y, and Z. Both are same action, but because the delivery is different, the results is entirely different. Emmanuel, you agree with it?
yeah, absolutely.
Talking about your own mistakes, I think that we tend to look at the world around us as a problem. And I've seen people who are just so self-involved that the whole world is a problem, there's nothing, they are perfect. And I think that self-introspection is something I can do a lot better in. And talking about my own mistakes before criticizing others, that's something I have a tough time doing, but it's something that's really important. Because if you don't know problems with yourself, how can you tell whether someone else is a problem? Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. So instead of telling people, here's what you need to do, why letting them figure out why they need to do that, and then coming to the conclusion of what needs to be done. Find reputation is, so if you don't let people a way out, and you put them in a corner of saying, okay, your reputation is going to be damaged, they go into defensive mode. And that tends to not help the end goal. So if you give them a way out and lead them towards that way out of saying, okay, here's what's wrong. Yes, this could have been done better, but can you get on this project and actually try it out? That gives them a way out of, rather than saying, okay, you've done a really bad job and everyone's going to know about it, and that's that. So if you give them a way out, and that way they can come up with a better reputation. And then use encouragement, make other person feel happy about what they're doing, even though you suggest it. So here are kind of simple things that you can do to make a big difference in a day-to-day conversation. Use the first person's name: Emmanuel, Anil, Candace, Dennis, Chris. Attention, immediate attention. People love their names. For some reason, they respond to it. So make others feel genuinely important. Anil, he's
Starbucks uses that tactic, by the way.
Huh?
Starbucks.
Oh, they write the thing? Good point.
Yeah, they do. Try to remember your name as much as possible.
First name terms, man. Yeah, makes everyone feel important.
Make others feel genuinely important. Anil,
Oh.
you created this thing. This is the best, this is a huge platform for entrepreneurs to take to the next level. And it's a great job. Now you feel differently, right? You feel like, okay, this guy recognizes what I've done. Versus someone else who just says, hey, I got a startup to sell you. Now if I tell you I want to sell a startup, you listen to me.
That's cool. Man.
Listen to others, smile, talk to the person's interest. Now here's what you don't do. Stop talking about yourselves. I have done this many times where I start talking about myself, my interests, and it's on and on and on. And it just turns people off. Nobody's interested in you. Everyone is interested in themselves. That's the bottom line. If you have an idea, like Anil is talking, can you say something?
An idea?
What is that? Interrupting.
What?
So that came out that while you're saying something, never do that. I've done it myself. I do it all the time, and I have to keep reminding myself, stop interrupting people. Even though it's so tempting because this person is just talking on and on and on. But it's really important to figure out when to do that, and it makes a big difference. Here are some quotes from the book. When dealing with people, let us remember that we are not dealing with creatures of logic. People are not logical, and that's nature. So you can assume that you can try to hope that people will turn to logic, but that's never going to happen. People are emotional, so you have to play with what the cards you've been given. A great man shows his greatness by the way he treats. I don't like that. It's not about treating little men; it's about treating others. A true leader is not about how popular he is in media. In fact, the leaders that I truly respect are the ones that are always behind the scenes. The ones that are always up front, they tend to have a big ego, and they don't really have strong followers. Look at the difference between Donald Trump and Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, you don't see him all over the place, but Donald Trump, you see him always trying to push himself.
Have you read the book Good to Great?
No.
It's like similar principles of CEOs who are more humble, low-key.
Yeah, you want to follow them because they empower you to take the lead. Instead of condemning people, let's try to understand them. Let's try to figure out why they do what they do. It's a very profound statement. I think this is still, if there's one thing that I really kind of hit me hard when I read this book is try to take a step back and understand why people do what they do. It may not make sense to you, but if you put yourself in their shoes, it makes sense. The example in the book is this. There's this woman who was married and her husband didn't like her at all. In fact, to a point where he didn't even want to have dinner with her. So, but she wanted to have kids, she wanted to have a great marriage, but she never had any of this. Her husband didn't like her, she didn't want to give her any kids, nothing. And she ended up going insane. When she became insane, her insanity manifested as she thought of herself as a British aristocrat, and every morning in the mental hospital she would say, oh, I have a baby last night. And someone asked the doctor, would you want her to become sane again? And the doctor said, no, because she is happy as she is right now. If you put yourself in her shoes, in her kind of illusion, she is happy, she has a great marriage with a high profile person, she has babies, and even though it's insane, but she's happy in that point in time. If she got into where she is in the real world, in reality, she'll be very unhappy. She has no money, she has nothing to live for. So, before you condemn people, before you condemn homeless people or people who have mental issues, try stepping in their shoes for a little bit and see why they are where they are. If you argue and contradict, you may achieve a victory, yes, but you will be an empty victory, because even though you got the last word in the argument, you didn't win that person's support. That's a lot more valuable than getting the last word in. Has anyone been in an argument with your parents or like with a friend where you had to just get that last word in? Never? Man, I'm the only screwed up person in this room. All you guys are perfect. It's okay, I benefit a lot from this. Because I always, when I argue, I'm like, I gotta just tell him this because I know I'm gonna win the argument with this. So I'm gonna tell this one last point. So, but it never wins. You cannot win like that. Listen first, give your opponents a chance to talk. Let them finish. And accept the mistake. Disarm the person and bring him to your side rather than defending your position. And that's it.
Cool, man. Good job.
That one about arguing, you were saying, with your
It is
friends.
So,
Once
how many
it's
people
started.
here have heard about bitcoins? How many people actually own bitcoins? Nobody. Okay. So, do you know what's the reason for bitcoins? Why is it there?
Online purchases?
Online
What's the difference between bitcoin and real currency?
For what I've never done like actual research on the subject, but what I understand it's untraceable,
Mhm.
and I've heard about it because we were actually doing a news package for the deep web. So supposedly that's how they pay each other, as in drug dealers.
Mm.
So that's all I know as far as I know about them. I just know that they're untraceable. Anybody can buy them, and most of the time people use them for, not so pure intentions.
So like money laundering,
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. Pretty
Side
much
benefits.
Those
of
are the
gangs.
things you were talking about, right?
All those gangsters and mafia and stuff. Like I think those.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they have an upside for that. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Well, is there
That's,
evidence that that's what it's mostly used for now, or is I think that's more what they're worried about, right?
yeah, that's most. I mean, whenever you hear news about anything regarding bitcoins, it's because something bad is going down.
Well, the media loves that.
Yeah, the
Well,
media
right now it's in a
loves all that
bubble, which is
frenzy.
good or bad, depending on
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's as far as I've known of anything, just what you hear in the news.
Yeah. Anyone else? Like, what caused the genesis of bitcoins? My understanding is that it's the removal of a centralized authority. So you don't have like the U.S. Treasury. So when you have a dollar here, this dollar is worth something because there is the
Backed
U.S.
by
Treasury.
gold, backed by the
Backed
gold
by-
standard.
Yes, and the U.S. Treasury is backed by gold. So there's something real behind it. There's something tangible, gold, behind all the money that you have. So you can actually create a valuation for your money per the amount of gold that's behind that. In Bitcoin, there is nothing like that. It's purely virtual. There's no centralized authority. The coin itself is nothing more than a block of data. So this data is actually it's transaction history. That's what a coin is, and it's non-reproducible. So that means that if you own the coin, it's unique. It's unique. Nobody else can copy that. So it's kind of like public-private key concept. Is anyone familiar with public-private key, SHA-256 encryption? That's the basis of Bitcoins. In fact, the miners, you can actually mine for Bitcoin. There's 21 million coins out there. That's it. That's the amount of coins out there. That's it. You cannot have more than that many coins. So they predict that the 21 millionth coin will be mined in maybe like 50, 60 years from now. They're based on the rate of mining that's going on. But that's it. You cannot create new currency. That's another benefit of Bitcoins, that by definition the liquidity of it is guaranteed. That's it. You have 21 million in the market, and that's all you'll have. Versus the US dollar, where the government can get more debt, print out more money, and suddenly you find your money is less valuable. So
How long have they been around?
Bitcoin has actually been around for like 6 years. It was like down to, at some point it was in the less than $1. And some research guy bought like $200 of it back then as a research project. It's worth like a few $1 million now. It's, as of today, it's worth $1,000 per coin. Yeah.
And Virgin Galactic's,
Using
accepting
that?
them, yeah.
Yeah, well, those are hard purchases. They are not yet mainstream yet, but they're getting there though. It's the interesting thing is it's the first virtual currency to get so much attention that there's possibly that it could be worth $10,000 a year, 2 years from now. Now, how to value that currency is, some people say it's the amount of people that are willing to take it.
Well, it's just that the
vendors
only
accept
value
it.
is what anyone's willing to trade for it. That's the only
Yeah.
value that.
which is determined by real products,
Yeah.
when the rubber meets the ground, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if, like, say Subway takes half a cent, half a Bitcoin, that means that it means half a Bitcoin is $7. So someone at some point needs to make it mainstream, and when that happens, that's when the rubber meets the road, and then true valuation appears.
And the true corruption, but that's.
Yeah. So yeah, the fraud aspect, in a way, it happens now. It's with
Fraudulent notes
Yeah.
too, man.
counterfeits and
Counterfeit notes.
money laundering. What they say, it becomes easier with Bitcoins because you cannot trace, nobody can trace who holds it. It's not like a coin that you have in your pocket. It's something that is virtual. It could be in the cloud, it could be in a hard drive, it could be anywhere. Yeah. And a lot of people are mining for coins. Initially, the coins were easy to find. They were under tables, they were all over the place. I'm just kidding. Coins are a virtual thing, but it was easy to mine for coins early on.
What do you mean by mine? Like, I picture like.
Yeah, so they're actually a pickaxe. You buy this special pickaxe from eBay, and you go to your backyard and you start mining.
Backyard,
I'm
like-
just kidding. I'm kidding.
Turn
I'm
into an
kidding.
archaeologist, man. and start, like,
I want to see how far I
metal
can trick you.
detector, man, and like,
No, so Bitcoins are a mathematical concept. So the big innovation to Bitcoins is that these guys, actually it's anonymous, who created Bitcoins is still unclear. But basically, if you think about the fundamental aspect of Bitcoin, is the ability to say that this virtual thing is owned by you and you alone. So this whole framework allows you to have unique elements. You can't just copy paste it somewhere else and now the same coin is owned by two people. Versus a dollar, I own this dollar and only I can own this dollar because you can't copy this. How do you?
So it cannot be counterfeited per se?
Yeah, it cannot be counterfeited by definition. There's no way to do that.
But you
And that's-
give them money?
So when you make transactions,
No, but like to get a Bitcoin, can you pay it for a
yeah,
Bitcoin?
yeah. There's these what they call exchanges. Have you heard of Mt. Gox or like this bunch of exchanges out there? And what exchanges do is that they allow people to exchange coins with each other, but also allow you to convert dollars to coins, or like Japanese yen to coins. There's actually all kinds of things you can convert.
Well, what's the benefit of that though?
Well, let's say you want to invest in a stock. You buy stock, right? So same
yeah.
thing here. You buy bitcoins.
Yeah, but like for what purpose?
But
Like,
he says,
what do
I
want
think, what's the
Bitcoins for?
purpose of owning
Oh.
a Bitcoin? I think that's part of what I said, like, a lot of people, this is all in the news, that were buying drugs online and actually having them delivered by the United States Postal Service to their home. And unless, since the Bitcoin cannot be traced to who owns it per se, there's no way to trace what they purchased and who was it delivered to.
Yeah, that's the only benefit I could see from it.
Yeah,
because like
exactly.
the money's not backed by the government, so there's
No.
no physical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only drug dealing would
Yeah,
be
I mean,
appropriate.
there's-
Nice.
Well, the other thing the idea behind it's not that, but that's obviously
That's
much
what
more.
you hear on the news mostly.
The idea is frictionless transactions, that it's just peer-to-peer, that there's no one in between, that coin is the only value, and it's what you set for it.
Oh, I guess that's
So if I
another-
pay you in Bitcoin, then I'm saying whatever you did was this valuable to me. And there's no one in between, there's no government agency, there's
Yeah.
nothing, it's just you and me.
And as a merchant,
And
you always pay the 2.5% fee. Visa takes 2.5%, right?
Yeah.
With bitcoins, it's close to zero. It's like a very small number. It's an exchange.
Oh, okay, so you're
So there's a
basically,
huge benefit there.
yeah, to avoid taxes. Cool.
Yeah, taxes. I don't know about that. I think you still need to pay taxes.
Oh,
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
If you earn in
Well, I don't
bitcoins,
see why
you
you
do.
would
No,
if
if
it's
he
not
writes
anywhere.
code for me and I pay him a Bitcoin, there's no one saying.
But you're
nothing.
using the infrastructure of the U.S. government.
Wait, I thought
Protection
you
of
were avoiding
US
the
government.
US government.
Huh?
I thought that was to avoid the US government. Big-
No, I know.
It's all
But
virtual. dude.
wouldn't the
It's
U.S.
not-
government want a piece of the money?
If it gets big enough. they
No,
will.
well, if the servers are in
Yeah.
Africa, then I don't see why they would care.
I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, because then the government will be interested in it. So they need a piece of that.
But they can only tax you on the cost of you purchasing it?
No,
like
income,
via-
income.
Okay.
How would the government get income tax if you use Bitcoin? So you need to declare your income. So I think you'd still need to do that even if you get paid in Bitcoins.
Mm. How does it work with shares then? Like, I mean, if you own shares
Yeah,
in a
shares,
company, you
you-
still declare those, right? Or-
When you sell it, yeah, when you convert to profit, you pay tax on the profit that you made.
Okay, but not on,
Not on the shares
on the-
themselves,
Yeah, but on the purchasing
Yeah,
of those.
but there's a
purchase
shares.
transaction.
Yeah. No, but if you own shares,
Mhm.
you don't pay taxes on that. But when you sell the shares and make a profit, then you pay
Yeah,
taxes on
then
that.
you do. But do you have to pay taxes on you purchasing? No, probably
No.
not, right?
No.
They do, or somebody
That's
purchases.
interesting.
You
Anyway, I don't
you
know.
only
Yeah.
pay taxes on your income. You don't pay on Bitcoins.
But Bitcoin is an income.
It's not a legal tender.
Yeah,
They can't
so-
charge you tax on that. You get charged on the tax for the money that you get for your Bitcoin if you sell
That's
it.
interesting, yeah.
But they can't charge you again. What are they going to
That's
put?
right,
What are you
yeah.
going to put in your tax?
It's a good point, yeah.
It's
I
not
don't
legal
know.
tender at this point. It's just it's virtual tender.
But we
It's
can,
you and me. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's why they want it. That's the whole. It's sort of a libertarian ideal
Yeah,
type.
that's why it's interesting, not
Yeah.
because it's tied to the government, that's for sure.
Yeah.
mm.
It sounds like it's like rich people's money, right? You can like play with this, that it's like kind of outside the norm. And do we know like what territory these like bitcoins are owned most? Like in Europe?
Oh, no, that's the thing, we don't know, because it's totally anonymous. So, but China has a lot of
Yeah.
exchanges. China actually, today it announced, Chinese government, they didn't announce that it's not legal, but they announced that they are not.
They banned it.
Yeah. They are not accepting it or something like that. That's why Bitcoin dropped about $200 per coin.
Mm.
$200 from, like, where were
From
they?
$1,200 per coin to now it's 1,000 a coin.
Okay.
Yeah.
$1,000 per coin, man.
Yeah, but there's only 21 million coins that can be out there. I think there's so far about 8 million that have been mined. People are mining it quickly.
Yeah.
The best way to make money is just mine it. Yeah. You still don't know what.
Depends how long it takes me to find it.
Mine it.
So the mining process is pretty long, actually.
No, if you're lucky, you could get mine. You could find it quickly. You could find
So
it.
I-
So,
So
you
you-
actually search the web for bitcoins? Like,
No. So mining is as I said.
There's a
behind-
formula, right? Like,
Yeah. So underneath all this is this mathematical framework that makes it work. This encryption framework that makes this work. So mining is finding this kind of what they call hashes. It's finding these hashes. So think about like the closest way I can kind of wrap my mind around it is like finding prime numbers. Like prime numbers are hard to find. After the first few are easy to find.
Mhm.
You know, 1, 3, 7, 11. Then once you get to like 6 digits, it's really, really hard to find. It takes a supercomputer even, tens of years to find. So it's kind of like that. It's not that hard, but it's kind of like that. You're finding these keys.
I guess
The
that's the question.
hashes.
Do you go to a website or something to calculate? Like,
No.
Or
How do you
can
basically-
code.
So there's a mathematical formula that you run, then you try to find solutions to it.
To what? Like,
Yeah, you-
do I go to a
Like,
website?
he wants to
Yeah.
get a bitcoin.
Like, if I
You
want to
wanna
go to
find
a
a
website,
Bitcoin.
do I have a website I can log into right now and start like?
There's actually cloud mining now. You can actually pay someone else to mine for you.
on a concept that
On a
I'm not
cloud.
sure what it is.
No, cloud
Right?
mining.
It's easier to just steal someone's laptop, I feel like, right?
Well,
Yeah.
initially,
Yeah.
like 5 years ago, people used to do that. They just had a laptop. You could mine a few coins within a few days because it was easy to find. Back then, it was all over the place. It was easy to find. Now, it's very hard to find these hashes. So now they even have application specific chips. So that means the chips are, the code, software code is built into hardware. And these chips are like, racks and racks of chips running 24/7. So people have done that. They've set up these racks of hardware that all it does is mine. That's all it mines.
So it's free to mine.
Yeah, it's free. Anyone can mine. Yeah, if you find it, then you own a Bitcoin. There's only 21 million of them out there, though. Yeah.
So essentially, you have to create a formula and then like
Oh,
just
not-
let it run. I mean, like
Well, the formula is there.
Oh, the
That's the
algorithm,
mathematical
right.
framework that they have.
okay,
That's the basis of Bitcoin. That's how it works.
okay,
Like this math. That's how. Like if I give you a coin and
yeah.
I can't replicate that. I can't just copy paste and give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Then it defeats the purpose. That means that I've just have two of the same coin. You can't do that.
Yeah. So I mean, could you describe it as like like over there? We talked
Oh,
about like
okay.
this area like.
Yeah. So one approach to is, think about this as the space of hashes, coins. So initially coins were out here, like people were mining, they found coins, they found it easy. Now coins are like way out here. So you kind of have to go all over the place, look for it, and then you find a coin. But if you're lucky, you may immediately find something here. So it's not like you can. It doesn't matter whether you start today or you start 5 years from now. Finding a coin is the same likelihood as what it is now. It's like flipping a coin. That's the way I can explain it. I don't know how better
Yeah, it seems like a concept rather than like. Let's go.
It's hard. It's not easy to find these coins. That's all I can say. It's you have to put a lot of effort into finding. Otherwise, 21 million would be there right now. We'd be done.
So somebody's actually creating the codes, or you have to create a code by entering a formula somewhere on
But
the internet?
It's finding a solution to this math problem.
And
then-
what is this math problem?
It's called the SHA-256. It's an encryption problem. So I'm not an expert. The
Yeah.
best way I can explain it is like finding a prime number. What's the next prime number? Whoever gets the prime number, you get the coin. Then, you're looking for it. But it gets harder and harder as you go further, higher and higher. So it takes more effort to find the next Bitcoin as time goes on. Yeah.
Since it's all anonymous, we know that there's 21 million coins out there, but how do we know if how many are still left?
Well, minus what's so I think the exchanges, they can sum all the coins that have been created. Actually, I'm not sure. That's a good question. Maybe not.
I think
Maybe people are hoarding their coins and just
well,
keeping
that's
it.
economics. No?
Huh?
There's always 21 left because they're just moving around. So, and that.
No, but not all have been found. So there's still mining going on for these coins. Otherwise, they would stop mining.
Yeah, but even if they're bought, so they're all still just circling around. So even if there's 25, you can buy some. And they're all just gonna circle around either way.
Those that are there,
So-
yeah.
So it's not like they're finite. You could just,
But some people would mine it and just keep it in their hard drives. They wouldn't tell anyone they had it. They could just hoard it. I don't know if that's possible.
Because, there was in the news a few
Yeah, you could hoard
days
your
ago,
mind.
somebody threw away a hard drive with
Yeah.
Bitcoins.
Yeah, that's $5 million in Bitcoins, yeah.
So yeah.
So the guy went to the landfill to look for his hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally mining. Because he had all the,
And this was a couple of days ago.
So Bitcoins in very real terms is nothing more like a packet of data. It's this big, massive packet of, I think each one could be size of 4 megabytes. There's a way to compress them, but it's like 4 megabytes in size. It's a long data packet.
So they were worth 5 million in US currency,
in-
or 5
based on
million
today's-
in- Oh, okay.
Based on today's exchange rate, yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe it's down a little bit, but whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's gone. It's gone. Those coins are gone forever. You can never create them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
That
understanding.
kind of sucks.
Oh, wow.
So in a way, that's one of the problems with this, is that what happens if people keep losing the coins? Then it goes from 21 million to some lesser number, but you can't create new coins.
Yeah.
Whereas in paper money, you can always print new paper to replace the ones that are torn or burnt or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but what they say is that because you can transactions can be a fraction of a coin, it doesn't matter.
I think that could be a problem.
But I think what's interesting to people is what is the value of this coin? Like a year from now, it could be $10,000. Like when it
Or it
gets.
could be $10. They said there's already been a lot of
Yeah,
bubbles.
but it's the first currency to ever get this kind of traction. There's never been a currency like this. People have tried before, never been successful. This time it's
Or they were shut down. There was that one guy who shut down by the government.
yeah. But this one seems like it's the government is not saying much about it. There's some
No, they had hearings and they just said, okay, we'll let it ride.
Yeah,
from
let
there."
it ride, yeah. So it's a lot of things going on. So it's kind of interesting. So I know a lot of my friends. They have bought a lot of coins. They bought coins when it was like $100, $200. Now it's $1,000. Yeah.
Was there any connection to like gaming with that, like Bitcoin or no, or?
Could be. Yeah. I'm sure you can use it.
Because I mean, I
Yeah.
know there's like virtual currency for like games, like, you know, that was really common, and I wonder if this was an evolvement from.
But this has no centralized authority.
Yeah.
There's no one creating these coins. Everyone can create it. It's totally non-centralized. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. I don't
Yeah.
So put your money where you think it is.
So you can buy maybe a few coins today and maybe,
Keep it. Yeah.
and you might be a millionaire.
That's
you
what
might
some
just-
guys did like 4 years ago. Just
Yeah,
imagine if
cash
you owned
out.
it 4 years ago,
Yeah.
it was like less than $10 a coin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Candace and I think that we should have a workshop devoted to Bitcoin mining.
Yeah. If you want
In
to,
general right now.
this you can do now. You can do cloud-based Bitcoining. You just set it up on the cloud. buy like what they call giga hashes. So like gigahertz or processor speed. They have processors for giga hashes. How fast it can create hashes. So you can buy time on their servers, and if you're lucky, you may get a coin tomorrow. If you're unlucky, you get a coin next month. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So you could mine for it. Anyway, that's that. That's what are you gonna do next?
Cool, man.
You wanna go for dinner next?
Yeah, I guess.
It's
With
only
that,
10
did anyone else want to talk about or any announcements that people wanted to make or talk about any subjects or things or challenges like, you know, that they're going through that they wanted to share, or resources they're looking for, jobs, I don't know, like anything else, like it's open open for discussion. So quick question, what do you guys want to see in the next, by the way, we have a scheduled Unity workshop for game development on the 19th. That's going to be really cool for people to understand if you had an idea about a video game that you wanted to make and you wanted to port it onto mobile platform. You know, the speaker that I'm having is an expert in doing that. He's like not only good at building apps or games in Unity, but also the porting process to how to make it mobile. So that would be a really good workshop to understand the process and what it's capable of. And then obviously if you want to explore that more, then you know, we can go into more depth with it. But that's going to be a cool one. Also, OC Mini Maker Fair is this weekend. Well, not OC Mini Maker Fair, San Diego Mini Maker Fair. It's this Saturday, so we're going to be carpooling down there. If anybody's been to a Maker Fair before, it's all about robots, tech, the makers of like 3D printing and CNC machines and all this cool stuff, and gadgets and hardware and software and just all this stuff. So it's a really cool event, and it's in San Diego, and it's supposed to be huge. It's happening on Saturday. So yeah, we're going to be carpooling down there. If you're interested in, let us know. I posted it up on the meetup. And what else do we have? There's a startup weekend in San Francisco coming up. You know, we may go to that. It's in a couple of weeks.
No, it's next weekend.
Oh, it's next weekend? Oh, okay, cool. So that's next weekend. We might go to that. Let's see how it goes. Planning a trip out there. And then so New Year's and Christmas party. I don't know, I was thinking of doing something this Christmas or New Year's for everybody that's still around.
Just have it at Armin's,
Yeah, at our local
Warehouse.
maker space or something, like, that'd be cool. We did a barbecue there once, which turned out pretty cool. And then, I don't know what we'll do for Christmas. Any ideas, anyone? Christmas party, what would you guys like to do? Cook food, go disco, dancing, party, tech, makerspace thing, or do you wanna make like Christmas toys, or like, I don't know. There's so many directions you can go, but something to ponder if you have any cool ideas about. And then, if you're following us on Twitter, our hashtag is OCHack. Our Twitter handle is OCHackerz. And if you want to tweet us and let us know your thoughts about any ideas, what you'd like to see in our future events, or the Christmas party, or one way to communicate with us or get a hold of us. And then what else did I have? I don't know if I added anything else in there. No. Yeah, that's it for now, I think.
cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna break and have dinner and stuff. Like we're gonna probably head to George's, maybe. George's Thai Bistro, pretty cool place, good Thai food. And they're open till 10, I think. So yeah, everybody's welcome to join us. Should be really cool.
Good stuff there.
Yeah. And that's it. So thank you all for coming. I know it's like short. A lot of people are on Christmas break right now, and preparing for their Christmas, vacation and commitments and stuff. So, and there's also a People Space event, which is like huge. So that's going on today. So, but yeah, it's still a lot of cool, interesting subject matter, and I hope you will learn something new and today. So, thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
Good job, man.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Good work.